Are you feeling wiped out, irritated, just completely done? Well, today we're going way beyond the usual advice. This is a real, practical, step-by-step plan to recover from that emotional exhaustion and finally get your energy back. Okay, let's dive right in.
First off, you need to know you are not alone in this. A pretty staggering 80% of people feel emotionally exhausted more than half the time. And a lot of us, we mistake this for laziness or just being tired. But what's really going on is something much, much deeper.
And this quote, it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. This isn't a failure of willpower on your part. It's about a depleted internal resource. Just imagine it's a bank account that's been overdrawn for way, way too long.
And believe me, I know this feeling firsthand. A few years back, my life looked perfect from the outside, you know? Full-time university, a bunch of side projects, a great social life. But on the inside, I honestly felt like I had nothing left to give. I was constantly zoning out and canceling plans.
It took a therapist to help me see the real truth, and it was a total game changer. Emotional exhaustion isn't actually about the volume of things on your to-do list. It's about all these hidden costs, these small, constant ways you're spending your inner energy without ever even noticing.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start by uncovering these hidden drains that are secretly costing you energy. Then we'll walk through a really practical 4-step recovery plan. We'll cover how to stop the spiral, how to pay the tax of self-awareness, how to heal the split inside yourself, and finally, how to really recharge your battery. This is your path back to feeling whole again.
All right, let's get into it. First up, identifying the hidden drain. Before you can plug a leak, you've got to find it, right? And the real culprits are usually these invisible drains that we totally overlook in our day-to-day lives.
So in psychology, there's this idea called the resource loss spiral. And here's the key thing to get. Losing your inner resources, like, say, your patience in traffic or your focus during a boring meeting, that actually has a much bigger negative impact than the small positive boosts you might get. These are tiny daily withdrawals from that emotional bank account we talked about, and by the end of the week, you're broke and you don't even know why.
So if you're caught in that downward spiral, our mission for step 1 is simple. Stop the spiral. This is all about you hitting the brakes and taking back control of your resources before that emotional bank account completely hits zero.
And here's the fix. It's a really simple 2-part strategy. First, for just 1 week, track your energy. Just notice which interactions leave you feeling strong and which ones leave you feeling totally wiped out. Then, cut or shorten just one of those draining interactions. Seriously, just one. If that weekly 30-minute call exhausts you, make it 15. This isn't being selfish. This is essential resource maintenance.
Okay, so we've stopped the spiral from getting worse. Now for step 2. And I'll admit, this one might seem a little strange at first. We need to pay the tax. And this is a super important part of the healing process, but it's where a lot of people get tripped up and actually quit.
It's what's known as the awareness tax. So when you first start doing the work, journaling, going to therapy, or just asking yourself some tough questions, it can feel even more exhausting. And you might be wondering, why? Well, it's because self-awareness takes up a ton of mental bandwidth. A lot of people hit this phase, feel worse, and they think, this isn't working, so they stop. But it is. This is a totally normal part of the process.
So the fix is actually to plan for it. Just give yourself a 2 to 3 week window where you expect to feel tired from this new inner work. And during that time, you have to consciously reduce other demands. Say no to one extra project or one social event. You're giving your brain the space it needs to adjust.
All right, let's move on to step 3, heal the split. This next pattern is a massive energy drain, especially for high achievers, for caregivers, for creators, basically for anyone who feels like they have to constantly perform for other people. Sound familiar?
This is what we call the emotional split. It's when one part of you is feeling an emotion, anger, sadness, while another part of you is constantly watching, judging, and editing that feeling. You tell yourself to be strong or don't complain. Your mind is basically working a double shift, 24/7. And that, as you can imagine, is incredibly draining.
The fix here is to create a daily no-performance zone. Just 10 to 15 minutes, that's it. You can journal, you can record a voice note on your phone, or you can talk to one person you really trust. And there's only one rule. You don't have to explain or justify how you feel. You just get to feel it. This simple practice slowly closes that inner split and dramatically lowers the emotional tax you pay every single day. We've looked inward, and now for our final step in this recovery plan, step 4, recharge your battery. This one is all about looking at our relationships and tackling the invisible emotional labor that so many of us do without even realizing it.
So I want you to ask yourself this question honestly. Are you the designated emotional battery in your relationships? Are you always the one calming fights, trying to cheer people up, and generally managing the emotional temperature of the room? This comes from a place of deep caring, I know, but it's also invisible work that just burns through your energy reserves. So the fix is to start giving that labor back. First, just start by naming it in your head. Recognize that urge you feel to jump in and handle things for everyone. Then, instead of taking over, just ask a simple question. What do you need right now? This totally shifts the dynamic. You're still being supportive, but you're no longer the only emotional engine in the relationship. And that brings us to our final section, your path to recovery. Okay, so we've walked through these 4 key patterns of emotional drain and their practical fixes, but look, knowledge is pretty useless without action. So the most important part is figuring out how this applies directly to you. So I want you to take a moment and really think about this. Which of these patterns feels the most familiar? The real skill here isn't just knowing the signs. It's about recognizing which one is secretly running your life right now.
Is it the resource loss spiral, where all those small daily drains are just bleeding you dry? Is it the awareness tax, where doing the work actually feels harder before it gets easier? Maybe it's the emotional split of feeling one thing but performing another. Or are you being the emotional battery for everyone else? Pinpointing your primary pattern, that is the absolute key to a targeted recovery. And I want you to remember this. Fixing emotional drain isn't just about feeling less tired. It's about reclaiming the energy you need to build a life you actually love. The version of you that's calm, that's focused, and creatively alive. That person is waiting. So my final question to you is this. Which one small step from today's plan will you take this week to start meeting them?